So, on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about food. Is that right?
Yeah.
We are, aren't we?
I really hope that the microphone will pick up your stomach growling because the noise, it's like you've got Simba and Mufasa and Scar living in your stomach this morning.
I don't know why, because I ate quite a lot last night but forgot to come out the house to come and obviously do these podcasts with you, and didn't have any breakfast because I was like a bit of a lunatic running around after the kids, you know, as you are.
You do.
On a school morning.
Yeah.
Get a scar! Where's your socks? Have you eaten your breakfast? You know you have to brush your teeth every morning. Why do I have to tell you 27 times every day?
That kind of morning.
You say it quite quiet like that. Mine doesn't sound like that. However, it's got better because I've been getting back into my meditation practice.
Very good.
But today, we've just been talking, haven't we, about food, fasting.
Yep. Well, that's what I was going to say to you. You're hungry because you normally have breakfast. I'm not hungry because I fast, but we'll get into that in today's episode. But it's quite good because you don't have hunger pangs like normal, and I probably spend half what I was doing on food, so I'm saving a fortune.
I bet you are. And what is it that you're doing?
At the moment, I don't really want to go into it, to be honest, because I have had some amazing results and I don't want people to look at that and go, what have you done? Have you done it? Have you done a programme or something? It's actually really boring. I've just followed a series of decisions every day, and I ask myself every morning, what decisions do I get to make today? And a couple of those decisions are about food, and that's all I do. I journal about it and then I do it. And people expect it to be so much more complicated than that. And what diet are you following? And are you taking supplements? And are you doing shakes? No. And it's boring, but I just keep my promises to myself. So I've worked out this morning. I've had my black coffee. So apart from you've just poured me a coffee that's got milk and sugar in it. So this podcast could go.
Oh, God.
That's the first time I've had sugar in weeks. So, yeah, that's my way of
it's
eating
only
right
half
now.
a cup. You'll be all right.
I'll be fine.
We'll finish this beforehand and then you can go and do whatever you want outside of the podcasting studio.
Perfect. But let's go back in time a bit when we're talking about food, because I like to talk about this because my story with food started very early. So I want to ask you the same question. What was food like for you growing up? Was there always food, or was food scarce, or were you comforted with food? What was it like in your house?
Food. It was all about food.
Glorious food.
Yes, food. And it stemmed from my nan, my mum's mum, my Nana Brenda, and I just love her to bits, God rest her soul. She was like a baker. She was like a proper nan. She had the big boobs. She was like cuddly, really like, you know, just.
Did she wear a tabard?
Just really, yeah. Just she always had an apron on.
Yeah.
And just not me, mate. Yeah, you come home from school. My granddad would pick us up and it was literally 2 minutes walk from the school to me nan's because my mum and dad were in work, and the whole thing would be about food, and she'd be at the door. Granddad would meet us with like a not a Snickers marathon at the time and Skippy bars. Then I'd have that on the way home. Then I'd get to me nan's and me nan would be at the door with like goodies like apple pie or the tin of biscuits and stuff like that, and then we would have our tea, our dinner, and then mum and dad would come and pick us up after work, and then I would go home. And it was funny, I had a bit of an obsession with food. It was a comfort thing, not knowing, and I've always got in my head that I was a chubby kid, and when I look back at photos now, I wasn't. But in my head I was, and I always remember I had to undo my school skirt before I left my nan's because I'd ate that much food, my belly would swell, and I would undo it, and I'd go home with my school skirt like just hanging off my hips, and my mum would say, what are you doing? And then my mum would say some things about how much food I was eating, so I did sort of know I was eating too much, but I didn't care because I loved it.
And it was a sign of love. Your nan made you eat and got all that food and cooked it for you as a sign of love.
It was. I think that's what it was like then, and I still think it's a bit like that now. It is a sign of love, but it's at that point of how good is it actually for you. And back then, it was home cooked food, and it was really good stuff. And then there was the cakes, and then there was the chocolate, and then there was the really big meals, and I'd have the same size roast dinner as my granddad, and I'd eat it. And I've always had in my head, you have to finish the plate. You have to finish, because that's what we used to get
That
told.
is what we were told.
So then going into your teenage years, and then you start noticing boys, and you start noticing how your body looks, and you're getting hips and you're getting boobs, and then you start thinking, I need to be thin, because you're starting to look at other people. So that's when I got to, I think, 15. And that's when I started being conscious food in a way. I think it was secondary school, and I can actually remember I just used to take in with me crisp breads. They still do them now, crisp breads with a slice of cheese. I'd have 2 of them for my lunch. And that was all I'd have all day until tea time.
No.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And then obviously the weight dropped off. And then I felt a little bit better. But then that wasn't nutritious either. How about you? What was yours?
Growing up for me, I lived in another country, and my mum didn't have access to money. She wasn't working. She had 2 small children. My biological father was not the greatest of people, let's put it that way. It's not my story to kind of share and tell. And mum, I talked about this sometimes, like having to beg from the butchers for food for us and things like that. And looking back at pictures from that time, my mum is skeletal. There's just nothing of her at all. And I don't really remember that time. Those stories are things that have been told to me. But then we came back to the UK. We lived in like a hostel scenario, and managed to get our first house. But food was always one of those things that, again, was about love. So my nana in particular would bake and things like that. But food at home with my mum in those early years, single parent with me and my sister, was made difficult because my sister was such a fussy eater. So I realised this because I had a bit of therapy, oh my goodness now, like 4 years ago, about food. And I was regressed back to that time of being about 5 years old, and it was really interesting. So I don't know what the therapy was called, but I was put into this deep meditation, and I swear I was back in our dining room as a child with this like Hessian scratchy seating under my thighs. I was there. I was back there.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting because I was back there as 5-year-old me, but I was also back there as, at the time, 35-year-old me, observing the scenario and the situation. And I made a really, really brilliant discovery, which was food was always a competition for me as a child. Yeah. Because if I ate all of my dinner first, I got to go in the lounge with my mum and my dad. My mum remarried that gentleman. I suppose technically he's the word is stepdad. He's not. He's my daddy. He's amazing. Yeah. So we had this amazing family unit, the 4 of us together, and dinner time was let's all sit around the table. Mum and dad had finished the food, go out for a cigarette, and then head into the front room to watch the evening TV. Yeah. And I had to stay at the table until my sister had finished. So it was either me speed eat my food so I'm the good girl so I can go and watch Stars in the Rise, or it was me, come on, Rachel, you need to hurry up so we can both go and watch whatever we needed. So I would eat her food. So food for me was either rescuing and fixing my sister's problem or allowing that to be an issue. So I was golden child. I've eaten all of my dinner. Yeah. And that's where that So I've always been a fast eater. Always, for as long as I can remember, until I started fasting recently, because it gives me a bigger appreciation for food, and I take my time. And to be more mindful when you're eating. Because I have it with you and noticed that you eat quite fast. I do eat very fast. She's a fast eater. Yes. So that's where kind of my story was. And then, like most other people, didn't even notice any kind of issue because I was very, very active, gymnastics, dancing, acting, whatever. And then I get to like my 20s, discover beer. Oh, God. Yeah. Caffrey's was like 2 pints for £2 at Harry's Bar in Chorley, where I lived. Jeez, there's a lot of calories in Caffrey's. So my 6 pints of Caffrey's, which I was doing every Friday and Saturday night, as my mum said, hey, lass, you're starting to look like a 10-ton Tessie. because that's what was happening.
That's what my nan used to call me.
So the weight kind of crept on in early 20s, late teens. And then I discovered exercise in the gym in my mid-20s. But my weight has always gone up and down, up and down, up and down. And then when I had my breakdown, some people use alcohol, some people use drugs, some people use porn or gambling. I used food. Food was my comfort. That was how I comforted myself. And so that's kind of where I got up to. And it's only in the last 18 months that I feel like I've cracked my relationship with food and healed it completely. Because it's all about this personal development, this self-development journey that the both of us are on and continue to be on. Yeah. You learn so much about yourself. When you look inwards and you become self-aware, you learn so much about yourself. And I'll give you a great example of something that I realised about a year ago now. So I have a radio show on a Sunday afternoon, and it's a regional radio show that is broadcast across Lancashire. So therefore, I am governed by Ofcom rules, and I have to be very, very mindful of what I say. Can't swear. I have to be very...
Can't say fuck or bugger.
Can't say fuck or bugger. And I swear a lot.
I know.
And I have really strong opinions. And one of the values of the organisation that I work for is impartiality, because when you're on air, you have an obligation to be an impartial voice. And that's really hard. When you're trying to broadcast and be impartial, you've really got to remove yourself and your own opinions from something and just be the facilitator of conversations. And it's a massive responsibility, and you've got to be careful of what you say. I love that job, don't get me wrong. I absolutely adore it. But I started to realise and notice that I had this pattern. After being on air, I'd get in my car and my first thoughts were food. And I would stop off at the Express supermarket, fill my basket full of sweets, crisps, fizzy drinks, anything I can. Licorice all sorts is one of mine. Massive bag of 2 bags of licorice all sorts. And then just further down the road, there's a little lay-by with a bin. And I would pull in there, put some music on and eat everything, then discard the wrappers, drive home and have a full dinner with my family. And
sneaky
eating. And I did it.
To that.
Yeah, I did it for a long time. And there was just one particular Sunday afternoon when I'd done it and I thought, God, I feel like crap now. Because there is a shame involved in it. Yeah. And then I made that connection that even though I adore my job on the radio, I am having to stifle a huge part of who I am. Yeah. So eating the food was a release.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get that.
It was.
Yeah, I totally get that.
But as soon as I made that connection and I realised and I established that was a pattern, I was able to kind of go, right, I've got 2 choices here. I can either carry on doing this and it's making me feel like crap, or I can look for some other solutions and alternatives of what to do. And bless, one of my amazing friends, Michelle, she went and found this company that do healthy snacks. And she sent me a massive box of healthy snacks.
Oh, what's the company?
Can't remember. I can't remember what it was called. But she found it online, healthy snacks. She sent me a box and the note said, put it in the boot of your car and send me a picture every Sunday on your way home of the one thing that you've picked to eat out the box. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that is just, it was like, honestly, one of the most thoughtful things anybody's done for me. It was just brilliant. Yeah. And that really helped. And that helped me break that pattern. So I also, I don't know about you, but my husband has me on Google Maps on the phone, so he knows where I am. Yeah, and I know where he is. It's for years I was like, this is rubbish, because he'd know when I was lying. I'm just coming round our corner now. No, you're not. I can see that you're at home, Sense. You're sniffing candles again. Yeah. So I'd always get busted, right? But actually, it's a safety thing now, because I do end up driving. It's a good idea. And I like it for him. So my husband works shifts, and when he's been working really long hours, I like to know he's okay, because I know he's all right at work. It's the car journey that worries me when he's worked long hours. Yeah. So we have each other on Google Maps, and it works really well. So I've now said to him, check me on Google Maps, make sure I don't stop off at the shop. And he knows, and he will look for, he'll look.
So is having him watching you making you stay out of going, keeping you out of that negative addiction? Yeah.
Or if I do need to stop off at the shop because we need some stuff, then I will like make sure I say to him, I'm not going to buy sweets and
I'm going
crisps
for
and
milk.
chocolate. I'm going for milk and cheese and lettuce or whatever it is that we need. And then I'll like, I'm like, right, okay, I'm out now.
Because I'm just thinking about, because I started the no alcohol thing, and I was doing no alcohol for 66 days.
And tell everybody what day are you on right now?
On day 71.
Which is very,
Still
very...
haven't had one.
I am really shocked.
Me.
Really shocked at that.
Well, for me, it was, I had to tell everyone.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, I needed to let everybody know. So if I tried to sneak one, I couldn't because people would see me.
Yeah.
And we'll probably, are we going to do a podcast on alcohol?
Absolutely.
Because
definitely.
I think we talked about addictions.
I would like us to, I want us to save that.
I'll save that, my story around alcohol and the reasons why. So day 71, and I feel amazing. And again, it's that noticing the patterns of stuff, noticing why you keep doing that to yourself. Like knowing that having a drink and over drinking and then waking up the next day going, oh, I feel awful. Oh, my day's ruined. Oh, I've got doom or BFE or whatever you want to call it. But keep doing it. Why? And it's that being conscious of, and it was on holiday. I think I've mentioned, I don't know whether I've mentioned previously on a podcast, but I was on holiday and I was like, I feel crap. Why am I doing this to myself? Hence why I stopped and I put myself, and then I told everyone, because for me, I'm like you, I need to tell people I'm doing stuff because that in itself holds me accountable rather than not telling people.
I wanted to touch on that actually, because if you don't, I'm a big believer in that. That's why I work as an accountability mentor, helping people pull the finger out and, so it's important. But if you're not somebody who is keen to share how you're feeling around food, I did go somewhere and it fits in nicely with this topic and podcast. So I got to a point 2.5 years ago where I was secret eating all the time. I've never done the whole binging and purging.
I have.
Oh, I've never done that. I couldn't bring myself to do that. But I knew that my constant eating was an issue. I knew I was using food as a coping mechanism. So I went online and ended up joining some online Overeaters Anonymous chat rooms. So it was just text chat rooms, and they were all over the world and they were at specific times, and it was quite good because the way you were feeling, you could just like tell people how you're feeling and somebody would kind of connect. And I got friendly with somebody on one of these chats and they basically said to me, you really need to go to a proper meeting. So I did. I found one locally and I went to an Overeaters Anonymous meeting, which was unusual, hopeless.
In what way?
I really want to sit here and say it was an amazing experience. So I went, the reason why I looked for Overeaters Anonymous as well was because I'd read and listened to Russell Brand's recovery book. And he talked about his 12-step program and how much it had helped him. And it's really, really funny. The audiobook's brilliant because he goes into a bit more detail on the audiobook and it's great. And I think that book helped me realise that actually my food issue was a real problem at that time. So, I then go on these chat rooms, go to my first Overeaters Anonymous meeting and walk through the door. And in my head, I was expecting everybody to be large and obese, and the girl who greeted me was so thin I thought it was in the wrong place, but she was like, no, you're in the right place. I was like, right, okay. So we then all go into this little tiny room. There's some sofas. We all sit very close together. And the thing that made me, everybody was different size straight away. And then there was one gentleman who just sat in the corner very, very quietly. And they had a book and a manual and they followed all the points of the book and the manual. It felt very corporate. I felt like I was in a meeting and somebody was taking minutes.
On a proper program.
Yeah, on a proper program. And then I was handed this booklet and an envelope full of booklets and information and pamphlets. And then that envelope was passed around everybody in the room and they put their name and phone number on the envelope and then it got passed back to me. And it was a welcome pack and I was told that I could text any of these numbers if I needed support. But they said to me at the time, unfortunately, we haven't got anybody who's available to be a sponsor. So do you know what a sponsor is on the 12-step program?
No.
So a sponsor is basically your accountability buddy.
Okay.
So Russell Brand, in his book, for example, talked about his sponsor who'd been alcohol-free for a number of years, but was still going to Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous meetings, takes Russell under his wing. And the idea is that you're supposed to check in with your sponsor during good times and bad. So if you're feeling like, for me with food, if I'd have had a sponsor, it would have been that moment stood in the supermarket, Linda, I'm about to eat the Haribo, and Linda would have probably phone me or text me and talk me through the reasons why I shouldn't do it. So that's the idea of a sponsor. So with Overeaters Anonymous, I went for about 8 weeks and there were just no sponsors available. And which was a shame. So the numbers and the text numbers, I did try a few people and just, hi, I'm new, don't really know what I'm doing, haven't got a sponsor. And I only ever got one reply.
Wow.
Yeah, and I sent about 20 messages as well. So I only ever got one reply, but this woman was replying to tell me that she'd overeaten on prawns and thrown up. And it was like, she was putting her shit on me, basically. And I was new, this was like a new scenario for me. And it was just a very strange place to be. And at the end of the session, we were encouraged to hold hands and say the Serenity Prayer together. Lord, grant me the thing to change things. I can't even remember it. And I sobbed the first time. And I don't know, I then went back every week for about 8 weeks. And I never saw anybody improve. I only ever saw people sit in their shit, I suppose, is the right. And I believe that it's okay to sit in your shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I'd read Russell Brand's book and how amazing it was and the 12 steps and was
that one of his programs then, Overeaters Anonymous?
No.
So, it was someone who set that up.
Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Addicts Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous, whatever, they all follow the 12-step program.
Okay.
So when you get a sponsor, your sponsor is supposed to help you through the 12-step program.
That makes sense.
And the reason, like some of the steps, I can't even remember them now because it's that long ago, but some of the steps are about righting your wrongs. So making a list of the people that you've hurt and going back to them. And the process is you're supposed to go back to them or send a letter or whatever it is and basically say, I'm really sorry for this, and this. And then give them an opportunity to give, like, without judgment, to give you an answer and a response. So I was kind of doing that. I was doing my list of people and waiting for a sponsor.
Your list was massive, wasn't it?
Do you know it wasn't actually? Cheeky cow.
She never says sorry to me.
I do. But the main person on the list was fucking dead. So that was annoying because it was my real father.
Yeah.
But I used to go and sit by his graveside and tell him off and shout at him and then be nice and things like that. And that helped. That was massive.
Part of your therapy, isn't it?
Yeah, but that kind of like 12-step I did go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting as well, interestingly, because when I was on these chats, I said I went to the chats first of all, and, I was saying I've been going to Overeaters Anonymous, I don't feel like I'm being supported. And somebody said, why don't you go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting? Because there's loads more of them and see if you can find one. And I did, and I went to one in a church hall. That was brilliant. But even though I wasn't an alcoholic, it still follows the same pattern and process. And just listening to other people talking about their lives was absolutely brilliant. And we live in Liverpool in the UK, and here in Liverpool in the UK, there's a radio presenter called Lee Butler. And he had gone on his social media channels around this time talking about his own recovery from addiction. And that was very, very helpful. And people in this Alcoholics Anonymous group were talking about that, which was nice. So that was where I got up to with it. Again, like I said, that was about 2.5 years ago, but it was only in the last 18 months where my whole relationship with food has changed. And it's just come from being more self-aware, from catching those moments where I'm making that choice.
Yeah, when you're just about to
when
do
I'm
it. And
just
then you go,
about to...
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And I'm not one of these... I thought for ages, I can't do moderation. I just need to ban sweets and crisps and chocolate completely. But...
Really? No,
I don't do that
now.
I've
That's
yeah.
part of when I do NLP weight loss courses. it's about eating everything. Eating when you're hungry is one of them. But if you ban yourself from something, all you can think about is what you've banned yourself from, and then by the end of the day you'll go and eat that bar of chocolate because you go, I can't eat chocolate, and then by the end of the day you'll go and eat 5 bars of chocolate.
See, I've changed my language around it though. Instead of I can't, it's I don't. So that's a bit of an easier choice. It's easier for me to say I don't eat sweets and crisps anymore, because the same way you were describing how you were feeling on holiday after drinking, I feel like that after eating crap. That sugar hangover the next day, the bloating, the feeling of I've fucked up again and I've let myself down again. So it's easier for me to say I don't eat sweets, I don't eat crisps. But I have one caveat on that. I've realised that before my time of the month, oh my God, when the munchie monster comes to stay, I don't have any food rules around that time.
No.
And
Your body needs it.
And then I'm just crack on. Interestingly, when I did have those food rules, that was the time that was the hardest. That was all I could think about. Got to go to the shop, got to get sweets, got to go to the shop, got to get sweets. And then as soon as I gave myself this permission slip,
I know what you mean,
to eat what I wanted, I don't.
Yeah, because you've
so
got...
annoying.
It's like, well, I can if I want because I've given myself the permission. But you know what? I don't. I'm the same. I've probably been the same in the last 2 years, especially since connecting, doing more meditation, and being more aware of, I'll catch myself going into patterns. And now I am eating what I want, but it is, I get fuller quicker, and I'll be conscious. I'll eat slowly and say, I'm full now. I don't need any more. Whereas I've been brought up to, you have to finish that plate of food. And even, I don't know if you did this with Blake, if Blake ever left food out, leftovers, I'd be taking it get into the kitchen. I go, they don't want it. Okay, finished. Okay. As I'm walking to the sink, I'd be eating their food, go, can't throw it in the bin.
Because it can't be wasteful.
Because it can't be wasteful. But what are you going to do? Wrap it up and send it to Africa? Because that was part of the thing. That was what we were told, There's kids starving in Africa for some reason. And my NLP coach, George, said to me one day, well, do you know what? Are you going to put that food in a bag and send it over to them? Just throw it in the bin. Yeah. And you know what you can do? There's plenty of other things you can do. You can go over and you can help out there, or you can donate. Yeah. But you eating that food's not going to make them any better. And it is. It's true. It's a guilt thing.
Massive guilt thing.
Yeah. So
it's funny because my husband, Blake, my little boy Blake, he's either got hollow legs and he'll eat everything, or he's like a sparrow and he'll just have a few bits off the plate. And it is frustrating from like a parent's perspective when you've spent ages cooking a meal and then they're like, oh, I've eaten three peas and I'm done and I want to go on my trampoline, and you're like,
but that's probably what his body wants at the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because some people are really good at going, I actually don't feel like anything, but I was programmed into, well, I just eat. I don't even have to be hungry. I just eat because food's there. And if it's there, it's like I grab it and I put it in my mouth. So now I can actually sit there with a big cake and chocolates and crisps in front of me, and I can go, I don't actually feel like that today, or I'll take a few. But prior to that, it would be stuff. I've got to have it all because it's there. And then that would be where the laxative thing came in. And I don't know, I think we've spoke about this before, haven't we? But I was massive on I couldn't make myself sick. I tried, wouldn't come out. So then I went to the laxatives, and that was from the age of about 18 to 27.
Wow.
Because it was the thing about being skinny. And it just so wasn't healthy. And all I ate from them was lettuce and cucumber and tuna, and that was it.
How did you feel?
I was so miserable.
I was going to say.
So miserable.
I'm not surprised.
So miserable. I knew when I look back now, I was made up when I went on holiday and I had abs and I was really thin, and then I'd drink wine and cider on holiday and eat KFC and then come home like a stone heavier. And I was still thin, but I'd be fuming, and then I'd go back into that cycle of, okay, I'd be like, okay, it's fine. It's winter's coming now, so I can put a few pounds on. And then I'd put loads on because I'd stopped my body from taking in fat. So as soon as you eat fat, it comes, doesn't it? So I'd be thin in the summer and then a bit weighty in the winter. And it was amazing how much the body adapted, but continuously took the laxatives because that's what we did. That's what you did. Not saying all my friends did it, but that was like part of the norm.
Was that commonplace? Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that mad what we do to ourselves?
It is, absolutely. So I think that's why I suffer with my stomach now, because it just, I don't want to get into it too much, but I don't go as much now. But when I eat healthy, it's much better. So I need to get back on the fruit and veg, actually.
You know, you were talking there about intuitive eating, so knowing when you're hungry or not when you look at food. For anybody listening, like that's the holy grail to get to. I have been able to get to that point, but that's because I've been doing intermittent fasting. So that's been the magic thing for me, I think, actually.
That's the biggie, this one now, that because it's proven how much it works. There's a lot of people I know who were doing this.
But it's helped me really listen to my body and my head, and it's helped me to assess what is hunger and what isn't. But for those, that's me and that's my journey and that's my method. You're the mindset expert. How can people listening get to a point of more intuitive eating rather than just eating because it's midday and this is the time we have our dinner? What things do we need to look out for? Like, what's your process? You say you sat there and there's a cake. What's going through your head?
I think about, it's funny, I'm motivated by the pain of things. Some people are motivated by...
What do you mean?
So some people are... You're either a towards or an away from person. So some people want to go towards, winning something or getting a reward at the end of it. And some people are motivated by, if I don't do this, there's pain coming. Do you know what I mean? So,
okay.
So there's like either reward or there's a pain, and mine's more pain.
Right.
So for me, my motivation is when I'm weighty, I'm unhealthy, I've got less energy, I don't like myself, I just feel sluggish. So that's the pain, and I go, I don't want to feel like that. And if I eat that cake, that's how I started off. So it's like I go, okay. Am I hungry? Question.
And when you, hang on a second, when you say, am I hungry? So as you said that, I kind of do this body scan and it goes from my stomach to my solar plexus to my throat and to my head. Am I weird?
No.
When you say that, am I hungry? Like right now, I've fasted now for 18 hours.
When are you going to eat? When are you due to eat?
As soon as we finished. I'll go home and eat something as soon as we finish. But right now, interestingly, my stomach just grumbled as we were talking about it. Am I hungry? No. It's
just the stomach being empty, which is fine. And that is the thing about people. Part of the technique is let yourself get to like a scale. So if you say a scale of hunger, say 0 being, you're not hungry at all, and 10 being I'm absolutely fucking starving and I'm ravenous. So getting to the scale of between, say, up to level 4, 5, where your stomach feels empty and it starts making noises because it's ready. And that emptiness, that empty feeling's quite nice, but not getting to that empty feeling where it's
panicked.
Oh my God, I'm starving, because that's when you get to that and you gorge because you're so hungry. It's allowing yourself to get to that. So scanning from there right the way to there is.
So you're pointing.
Sounds right.
You're pointing like up the abdomen
here
there.
from the stomach.
Yeah.
Right the way through to here, and just noticing what that feels like. So it feels like a bit empty. It feels a bit hollow, but you're not ravenous. That's the best time to eat. To go, right, okay, I'm ready, I'm level 4, level 5. If I go another hour, I'm going to be starving, and I might end up eating too much because your body goes into starvation mode. So it's about gauging it on a scale. So level 4 to 5, okay, I'm hungry now, I'm going to have something. And then another tip would be when you're eating it, close your eyes and use all of your senses to eat that piece of food. So when I do my weight loss courses, I invite people, this this is when people can come to houses and we can share things. We can now, can't we? So cheese, I get really, really flavoured cheeses, different cheese and different like nuts and then make a meal. And then during the course, we do the course in the morning, then we have lunch, but we all everyone tastes the different cheeses, and we literally take one, and lunch is smallish, but with lovely flavours on it, and we just eat it, close our eyes, and we just flavour the taste and take our time. And then it takes about 20 minutes to do that, and then noticing how you feel after that, and your hunger's gone.
I did that once with a pack of Doritos. Right, no, hear me out. So
did you lick them?
So I sniffed, so I got it and I touched it and I looked at it, and then I brought it to my nose and I sniffed it. Yeah. And then I brought it to my lips and just felt what it felt like on my lips. Then I licked the like with the end of my tongue, and then put it in my mouth, noticed my nose, the smell, the taste, and then chewed it very slowly. And what was really interesting was at the end of it, I was like, that's shit. That is actually awful. But I could inhale not just a normal packet of Doritos, but a family pack or 4. I could inhale. Honestly, I'm not just saying that. If Sean wasn't home, I could easily eat 4 family bags of Doritos watching the TV on my own. But then when I did that exercise in mindfulness, like,
it's mindfulness, yeah.
Do I actually like this? No. And that's the beautiful thing about fasting. And I was talking about eating really, really fast, but fasting is in intermittent fasting. When it comes for me to break my fast, I am much more mindful for 2 reasons. Number one, what do I want to eat to break this fast? And I'm such a sad, weird bastard. It's usually Brussels sprouts and bacon. Ooh. What the fuck's wrong with me?
Crispy bacon?
It's got to be like incinerated.
No, I think that sounds quite
incinerated bacon with sliced, fried Brussels sprouts in butter. Weird.
Does not sound nice.
If I could eat that every night, like
you fart and past yourself.
No, I don't, because if you chop, it's different.
Right.
Trust me, honestly. So that's that. But then. So my husband and my son have started taking the piss out of me, because when it comes to me breaking my fast, but this is what happens.
But you really enjoy them as well.
But I do this thing and they wait for it and they wait and they watch. And I like put my plate down, I get my water and I get my knife and fork and I close my eyes and then I go like this. And I take a massive deep breath, and it's like slow motion. Dun, 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 dun. And it goes in my mouth, and I'm like slowly chewing it, and I go, and they go, there it is, and they wait for the noise. But it's taken me to 38 years old to get to a point of appreciating food, and then this magical fucking thing happened. I lost 2 stone.
Exactly.
Like
without
laxatives, tracking points, slaving away at the gym, like hating myself thin.
Yeah.
Like, just literally taking my time and being mindful
and preparing. Do you take time out to prepare? Because I know a lot of us are quite rushed, aren't we? And I don't always prepare, but when you do prepare and you think about what you're going to put in your body, and you really enjoy it when you've made a decent, clean meal, don't you, from scratch? And that thing I'm just thinking about, there's a connection between something that's in chocolate. It's in green veg. I can't remember what the ingredient is, because I crave, when I'm fasting, I crave spinach.
I crave greens when I'm fasting.
It's greens, and there's something that's in greens that is in chocolate. I think it might be dark chocolate. There's the same thing, and your body's craving that. So it's recognising, okay, if my body's craving that, rather than have the bar of chocolate, maybe just have a big thing of sprout butter and bacon.
Unfortunately, I can't find this because all that's coming up is green and black. You know, the chocolate brand.
Chocolate. Oh, that's so that's nice, isn't it?
But, yeah, we'll find it. Maybe we'll put it in the show. We'll find it and put it in the show notes.
I can't remember the ingredient, but there's something in green veg, especially spinach and stuff like that. And that's why I'm thinking of the sprout. It is in chocolate. Or in cocoa, something similar. So we'll find what that is.
Fabulous. We'll also put in the show notes links to Overeaters Anonymous. Beat is in a, because we have talked about laxatives and purging, so I'll put some links into Beat, which is an amazing charity about beating eating disorders, and has lots of advice for anybody who might have resonated with anything we've talked about today, or you might be worried about a friend, a loved one, or a family member. So I'll pop that in the show notes of today's podcast. But I am feeling a bit peckish now, so I think we are going to wrap up. I'm going to head home, incinerate my bacon, make my Brussels sprouts, enjoy it, not fart, and have a lovely afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.